Hi, my name's Amanda Zanette. Welcome back. I'm here to talk about our next section of the City Game book titled Banking with Pay Stubs. When starting this lesson, you do want to ask the students what is a pay stub or what's a paycheck and what does it mean to them. And you want to let the students know that every 2 weeks they will be getting paid. And of course, this is very exciting for them. So when teaching the pay stubs, it is quite complicated. I am aware that it's complicated, but I will tell you that the students love the complicated factor. I think they feel so proud of themselves that they work through it. And I always tell them that I had an EA one year that couldn't even figure it out. So when you've got grade 3 or 4 students figuring it out right away, they're pretty proud. So when teaching the pay stubs, I have layered it in a way so that you can just teach one thing at a time, one step at a time. The thing that I have always found the most helpful is if you can use a document camera or a projector, project the sheet that you're talking about onto the big screen. Now, I personally like to color code all the time, and you do want your students to be interacting with the paper as they have it. So I always ask the students, go grab 2 colors, 2 highlighters, 2 pencil crayons. And they get excited to choose their 2 colors. And then I tell them, hold one up, and which one is going to represent your positive amount, so money that you're going to be earning, and which one will represent their negatives. And I get them to do a little dot on the top so they know what color stands for what. So for that part, if you're using a document camera, I write directly on the paper. If you're using a projector, I go right up to the board, and I will use different colored highlighters on the board just so they can follow along. I think that's important because otherwise they can get lost. I also always like to partner my students into pairs so they can look at each other's work and make sure that their partner is not lost. One thing that's important is if you have younger students, for example, I had grade 3s this year for the first time this past year. What I did is I created money amounts on the bonuses and fine sheet that had 50 cents as the remainder, as the cents. But you may want to go into whole numbers just to make the math easier. It's up to you. Students get very excited when I tell them that you are allowed to use a calculator. The only rule I have is you need to show your work. When working through the steps, have the students cross out the bonuses and the fines, all the money they're pulling off their pay stubs. Have them cross it out so that they don't write the same amount again or don't forget an amount. So just little strategies to remember along the way. A few other helpers that I have found helpful over the year. Yes, at this point you haven't started the game and they don't have a bank book yet. But what I do is I tell the students that if you are able to complete that sheet correctly, I will reward you with money that will go towards your bank book when the game begins. And I just write it on a class list how much money each student has gotten. So they find that very exciting because the moment they get a candy or money from the game, which doesn't cost the teacher anything, that's when they're really pushing to figure out how to calculate the math. And I definitely find that helpful. Another thing is I have had students in the past who are unable to write, for example. And so what I do is I hire an accountant and another student to do their banking for them, because you want all the students to be able to have the opportunity to have a bank book and to have a job within the game. Some of the results that come out of banking is definitely the students feel excited about having money in their own bank account. They feel proud of themselves for being able to figure out a bit of a complicated process. The other thing is they definitely have a better understanding of decimals, and this is something you'll notice if you go to teach a unit on decimals, that they don't need to have as many lessons as you would normally need for that unit. And then another thing you might be wondering is time. Yes, in the beginning of the year, you're going to want to allot 45-minute blocks to do their banking, especially when they're learning the worksheets. But over time, that will lessen to 5 to 10 minutes. And a lot of students will use their silent reading block, if you're okay with that, to complete their banking. Some like to take it home. So for me personally, I do use silent reading for the city game. That could be time for students to meet with their police officers, bank clerks to meet with their clients, and again, all the students may use that time to do their banking. That's it for the pay stubs. You'll see the rest in the book. Thank you for listening, and I hope you tune in on to our next lesson. Thank you.